last weekend, I set up my art booth at one of my favorite shows that I do every year. It is the cat show here in the same city as where I live. I wanted to share with you exactly what I sold at the show in this video. I wanted to do this because I know there are a lot of artists who are wondering what we make when we are selling at in-person events. Like, what is a good amount of sales, or what should you expect to make? And there are a wide range of events. I'm going to be discussing sales at a cat show. This just shows you how broad the different types of events you can sell your artwork at are. But oftentimes artists are focused solely on selling at jury-defined art fairs or maybe craft fairs. And these are excellent places to sell your work. But sometimes there aren't craft fairs or art fairs in your area to be able to sell at. So that's why I think that it's a good thing to be open-minded about the potential venues to sell your work. And for me, since I'm an animal artist, cat shows are an amazing place to set up my art booth. In particular, why I really like cat shows is that typically the booth fees are very low. For this show, my booth fee was only $40. And since it's a local show, I don't have to pay for hotel fees or gas, travel. I don't have to worry about the major amount of my labor costs. Now, I do have to pay somebody to set up and tear down my booth. That is only $200, but typically, if I'm on a traveling show where I have several days and I actually have to have a retail help as well, I'm paying around $500 to $700 for help in my booth. And so this does cut down on my labor costs. Also, I love in-town shows because I don't have to leave my cats. I get to sleep in my own bed at night, and that is worth a lot. The other thing about this show is that the load in and load out is very easy. There's a back door right by my booth, and it's really easy to get in and out of the show. This is important because some shows you're having to hand truck your items all the way from your van for like a block away. So if it's raining or bad weather or snow, because hey, I mean, this show is in February, so oftentimes there is bad weather, you don't have to worry about it so much because you can park right by the door and just carry your items in. And this show is indoors, which is very important for February in Kansas. You cannot do an outdoor show. In fact, they don't even have them. And that's why I started trying to find shows this time of year to do, especially local shows, because what I found is when there's a lot of ice and things potentially out on the roads, if you are locked into doing a show that's, let's say, 5 hours away, what if there's a bad snowstorm, you can't get there, you cannot get your booth fee back. And oftentimes if you don't have a refundable hotel, you can't get that money back either if you can't make it there. So that's why when it's the dead of winter, when there are potential for ice storms and really bad weather on the roads, I don't do shows out of town. It's just a little bit less risky from a financial perspective. The attendance of the event was slightly lower than previous years, so I think around 1,500 people attended. This includes the exhibitors, the people who were actually showing their cats, and the people who paid the door fee to get in to then shop the vendors and go through this cat show as spectators. There were also about the same amount of vendors. I think there was like about 10 or 15, maybe 20 vendors. But the cool thing about this show is that there are not very many vendors, and they only have one person in each type of thing that they're being sold. So there's only one artist that's selling animal portraits, one person that's selling t-shirts of cats and things like that, one person who's selling cat toys, and so on. And this is great because even though there are only a small number of people attending the event, since there's not a lot of competition from other vendors there, it helps you be able to make a good amount of sales. The other thing that's excellent for me is that this is my exact target market. People who are going there have cats, they love cats, they oftentimes have lots of other animals. People who go to cat shows also seem to have a little bit higher level of income usually, especially the exhibitors, because they're raising really fancy, expensive cats. They're driving in from out of state to show their cats, so their level of income is enough that they can afford to buy original paintings. And this is something definitely to keep in mind, because if you are going to a show where people don't have very much money and you're trying to sell expensive original paintings, you're likely not to sell much. What I like to do though at an event like this is to have a range of items. So I have some very expensive original paintings. My highest priced painting that I took to the show was $1,500. It is the full body tiger, the big one that's in the middle of my booth. I took it not thinking that I would probably sell it, but more thinking that it would make a really good focal point for my booth, and it would set a standard for what the pricing expectations for the smaller works were in my booth. And the smaller paintings I had were around $199 up to $399 for the originals. Of course, I also took all of my prints, and I sell prints for $17.99. They are 8x10 size Giclée fine art prints. In addition to this, I also have canvas prints of two different sizes, some that are 11x14 or 12x15 for $55, and 16x20s or 16x16s for $100. So now on to what's sold. First off, I'm so excited because I sold 2 original paintings. These are paintings, one that I just finished making, so I haven't had it for sale very long. It is my really cute rhino painting called KJ with 3 horns. I was kind of sad to see it go, like I always am, paintings that are close to my heart because I really liked KJ. He's a local rhino from the zoo here in Wichita. He's cool because he has 3 horns, and most often rhinos only have 2 horns. And the other painting I sold is one I've been trying to sell for several years, so I was super excited to see it go, is of an oriental cat. And now we're going to take a look at my square dashboard. Now these are the sales figures from the show. It was February 1st and 2nd. It was only on a Saturday and a Sunday, so I love the 2-day shows. It makes it a lot easier than doing a 3 or 4-day show. I made $2,076.35 as my total sales. And most of the sales were credit card sales, as you can see down here, but I did have some cash sales as well. Now we're going to go over to the item sales, so you can see exactly what I sold. So I sold $1,169.35 worth of small prints. These are my 8x10 size prints. I sold $398 worth of original paintings, $290 worth of canvas prints, and then $219 worth of large prints. These are my 16x20 size prints. Next, I want to show you about my canvas prints. So I sold 4 of them. 3 of them were my 12x15 or 11x14 size, and 1 of them was a custom size, which is one that was 18x24 that I sold for $125. You can also see that I had a free print promo. I gave away 12 free prints at the show. This was a deal that I do. If people buy 3 prints, they get a 4th print free. This bundle deal helps me upsell people, and it helps me raise my average order value, which will earn me more money at the show. It's a good hack that if you have something to upsell customers on, like adding a free print to a bundle, if you do that, you're going to make more money. Next, you can see I sold 6 large prints and then the 2 original paintings. They were for $199 each. Overall, my sales were slightly lower than they have been in the previous years that I've done the show, but I think there is a very clear reason for this. The event used to charge $5 for a door fee to get into the show, but this year they upped the door fee to $12, and people were coming to the door wanting to come in and be spectators of the event and shop the vendors, but then they realized that it was $12, and for several people to get in, like a family of 3 or a family of 4, that price goes up to be actually pretty high. So if you're a single person, $12 doesn't sound like too much, but if you've got a family of 4, $48 is pretty expensive just to come to a cat show and see some cats and do some shopping, unless you are a really big cat lover. But even then, it can be expensive for a family. And then once they get in, they don't have a lot of extra money left over to spend on items like artwork, especially if they're buying $5 sodas at the concessions for their entire family as well. So these are just things to think about. But if you're doing a show and the door fee is really high, you might not make as many sales as you would at a show with a lower door fee. And I know the door fee impacted turnout, because typically there'd be around 2,000, maybe even 2,500 people show up to attend the show. Nonetheless, my sales figures show that you can have a decent show with a very small number of attendees to an event. Now, typically I like to do events that have 10,000 people at a minimum going to the event. This is because you're probably not going to make very good sales from an event where there's only 1,000 people. But these people, like I mentioned earlier in the video, are targeted people, the exact type of customer that I want to sell to. So that's why I can sell really well to them. So if you're an animal artist and you have a cat show or a dog show or some other type of animal show in your area where they have vendor spaces available, I would definitely try selling there, because the people who are going to these types of events like animals, so they'll be your exact customer. And if you're not selling animal art, then you can try to brainstorm some ideas of different conventions or things that are going on event-wise in your area that you might be able to sell your work at, where your ideal customer is also going to be at. And if you're still trying to figure out who your target market is, who your exact ideal art buyers are, then check out this video. It's gonna help you figure it out, so that way you can save yourself time and make more money from selling your work. All right, well, I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.